Welcome to Journey Through the Innerverse. Hello, Alexis. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. The the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo is really coming in strong. Like I am feeling all the feelings, and not in a bad way, just a very intense way.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now. I feel overall pretty good, pretty creative. Like I have inspiration flowing, but yeah, that's how I'm doing. How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of the same. I feel very like Virgo like. And that's no shade to anyone who's listening and that's a Virgo. I adore Virgos with my Capricorn. I get it, but I feel this kind of like there's so many little tasks and it's like I'm not a grounded Virgo pretty much at this point. I'm like the stereotypical Virgo that's kind of like overwhelmed or just like there's so many details. You want to do this and do that and do that. And like you need your to-do list and all of those things. And as I have all of these commitments and projects and obligations this freaking week, it's like I'm like, I need to write down what I need to do. But it's like I don't even have time to write down what I need to do. And so I'm feeling a little like full moon mania and it's just built, it's gotten more intense as we get closer to the full moon, of course. And we are recording this on March 13th. It's about 8:41 p.m. And so the full moon lunar eclipse is going to peak around 3 a.m., right? So we're in the like build up of the momentum. We're anticipating it. Hopefully, Alexis and I will be able to see it. We definitely have plans. Like I'm gonna set an alarm because yeah, I don't know if I'll actually like I'll probably doze off around 2 a.m. knowing me and then, miss it. So I'm like definitely setting the alarm for that.
Yeah, I'll probably stay up until I watch it and then go to bed because I'm a night owl anyway. I stay up super late.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited. It's definitely the energy is just crazy. I mean, and along with that, like that Pisces energy, the Pisces sun energy, I'm so it's like I have all these ideas and
Yeah.
inspiration, but like as quickly as I see them is as quickly as they dissipate and float
Yeah.
away. So it's like I really have to like if I think of something, I have to put it down or talk about it immediately or it's gone.
Yeah, it's like vapor. It's like the
Yeah.
sun, like the heat in the water is just creating steam and vapor where it's like,
Yes.
oh, like I can't really grasp it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how my dream space has been for the past couple days, where it's like if I think back to 2 or 3 days ago, I could grasp the dream. Like right now, I can't even like think about what I was dreaming a couple days ago. Like I know I at least wrote one or two dreams down over the past 5 days, but I can't really recall it. I would literally have to go to my journal and and
Yeah.
so and as of like yesterday for me, it's like I see the dream, I feel it, but it's just as we mentioned in the previous episode with drawing down those dreams, it's really kind of challenging.
Oh yeah.
And it makes sense because I have so much going on this week. So here we are.
I'm having a similar thing with my dreams, and it's weird the way that the Pisces energy is coming through in the dream space, just like last cycle when we were dealing with the Aquarius sun and how it was influencing our dreams. Like
Hmm.
everything in the Pisces season right now is very odd, very. It almost feels slow and fast at the same time with different things. Where
Hmm.
like lately I've been having, so I had a prophetic dream that occurred in the beginning of, I want to say like 2 weeks ago. And I kind of am having extensions of that
Hmm.
now. And because the first one was prophetic and happened a week after like I had the dream, I'm like, okay, so what does this mean? Is how is this going to show up? How can I predict how this is going to show up in my life? Is it even going to be an actual prophetic, or is it going to be kind of like an insightful takeoff of that experience? Like,
Yeah.
and it's diving deep into that and trying to figure out what it is, what the messages are that you're receiving.
Yeah, and I
And
love, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, but a lot of the other dreams I've been having have been, the ones with big lessons are very to the point and quick, and then the rest are very hard to grasp.
Hmm. Yeah, and I love that about dreams where it's like you just don't know. Like
Yep.
where you're like, oh, is this going to be added on to that? Like, is something else going to come into like that's going to be prophetic from that dream or like a deja vu type experience or like precognitive, I guess I should say. Or is it just like you said, an extension and further insight of that dream? And it's like you don't know until like you know.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't
and you
like
really
pinpoint it, which
don't.
I love.
Me
It's
too.
so mysterious and it's also it's just it takes patience
Yeah,
and observation and awareness and yeah, so this is why dream work is so magical.
it
I
is.
just it's I can't even put it into words. It's amazing.
No, I'm right there with you, and I always feel just the tiniest little corny when I consider myself a dream witch, just because I'm still in between the stages of like embracing myself fully
Hmm.
and not.
Yeah.
But when I consider myself a dream witch, it's really because where I get the most divination from is my dreams, my unconscious, the astral plane. Like this is the connection or relationship I have. So it's just when we have these things come up that are prophetic, where like you literally wouldn't have been able to know if that was going to happen if somebody was like, I'll give you $1,000,000 if you think this experience is going to come through.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be positive. I wouldn't know. But like when it does, then and you start to have these extensions of these dreams with similar themes, and then you're like, okay, what am I preparing myself for? What is the end lesson here? It's very mysterious, it's very unique, it's very just funny in a way. Like I can kind of laugh at it because it's so, you know, all over the place, but it's magical. It really is.
Yeah. So speaking of all the intense energy or the full moon lunar eclipse, this is actually a recording. We're not live right now, and I'm sure you saw that when you clicked on either the video on YouTube or on the link on Spotify. So we are releasing an episode that is titled "Who is the Navigator of Your Lucid Dream?" And this was such a fun chat. I believe this was in preparation for the Lucid Dream Circle that
Yep.
we facilitated. And so we were talking a lot about lucid dreams around this time. And it was just a really fun period of time because for me, I'm kind of sad that my lucid dreams haven't been like they've been kind of like far few in between, whatever that saying is. And so yeah, that I remember in that period of time, I was like very actively lucid dreaming and I got to talk to dream people and do these things and it was so much fun. And so I think this episode that we're sharing was like one of those like beginner chats of that whole period of, just really diving deep into lucid dreaming.
Yeah. Maybe we should do that again, open it up for like a lucid dream circle and
Yeah.
see what we can accomplish this time around. Maybe
Yeah.
like see what comes through, what messages come through and what breakthroughs we can have with our own self.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. This chat was on April 17th of 2024. And I just can't believe that it's been almost a year since we recorded this. Like I feel like you and I like met years and years ago. So
Yeah.
when I think about the fact that we've only known each other for a year, it
Mhm.
blows my mind.
Yeah, like this wasn't
That
even
it's like,
a year ago. Almost
no,
a year.
almost a year.
It's like what, 11 months probably like yeah,
Yep.
a little shy of 11 months ago, which
Yeah.
is crazy
Yeah.
because so like we've had so many chats about dreams
Oh
and
my
just
God.
the connection
Yes.
has been like so deep and yeah, it's a timeless connection that we
It
have.
really is ever evolving. Like it's fantastic. And this episode was interesting too because we were taking a look at, I feel like around this time I had this dream where I did very um loosely connect what I experienced as a dream navigator, but I haven't had a whole lot of conversations with kind of like an outside, like an outside voice, or what would I
Mhm.
assume at this point would be considered like the navigator and the creator in this.
Mhm.
Um, but it really highlights the key differences between anxiety and dreams and nightmares. And it was a really good chat. And, you know, I would love to even down the line touch back on this topic and see how our feelings and our, what we experience is different now.
And what was really interesting at that during that period of time, in preparation, of course, for the Lucid Dream Circle, we decided to both listen to an audio book, and this book is called Lucid Dreaming: Gateway to the Inner Self by Robert Wagner. And I don't know if it was a whole chapter, but at some point in the book, he like discussed basically how we think that we're in control, like we're actually in control of the dream, but I'm not going to do a spoiler. So this is still up in the air. Like, are we actually in control of the lucid dream? And if we're not in control, then who is? And like,
Yep.
what is this whole dynamic? And so this is essentially what we discuss in this episode. So I'm really excited for you all to listen, and we would love to hear your thoughts. So please leave your perspective, thoughts, insights, experiences, questions in the comments, either on Spotify or YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, that book right off the bat took me back. I forgot we even read that. And as soon
Yeah.
as you mentioned it, I was like, oh, we need to read that again.
Yeah.
We need to listen to that again,
Yeah.
read that again, and dive deeper into that area because, I'm lucid pretty, like, almost every dream I have, I'm lucid. But there's a difference between being lucid with, like, waxing and waning of your abilities. So like I'm lucid even if I'm not controlling anything. I'm still existing within the space. But then when you start to really put your energy into that full, completely there, like changing things and doing things, not to the highest extent because I do like to keep it grounded a bit, but I feel like I could be experimenting a little bit more with my direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I liked about this book is that he was giving his insights and um just his guidance on things and his experience, but then also he was really detailed about his dreams, and also like his dreams and his waking life. I definitely recommend checking this book out, and there's audiobooks all around. I wonder if actually it's on Spotify.
It
Um
probably is. If you have premium or
Maybe.
something, it probably is.
Yeah, so I feel like it's one of those books that would be. Um, so yeah, definitely give that a listen or a read if you're curious. Very, very helpful. It's not really a step by step kind of a thing. He just explains like what he does. And I remember just being like, oh, I'm gonna try this thing or I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
And so it's not like a guide per se, like the field guide to lucid dreaming. It's more of just like, here is, my insights and my key points on these things. Here's how it influence my dream space and my relationship to dream and my
Yep.
conscious self or conscious, you know, life
Mhm.
space. So yeah. So let us know what you think. We hope you enjoy this episode, and we will be live this Wednesday. So tune in live with us next week. I feel that yes, we are live. There's a bit of a delay on this end. So hello, hello. Hi, Alexis.
Hello.
I am so excited to have this chat. And we actually began this chat last night on Instagram. And it was really fun. We had a lot of people show up and share their perspectives and their insights and experiences on the topic we're discussing today. So, the topic we're discussing today essentially is about lucid dreams, and more so the nature of, or I guess the contemplation and experience of, do we actually have control in our lucid dreams, right? So that's the thing that really pulls people into wanting to lucid dream, is the fact or the experience,
the belief that we are in control. Like you can finally control your dreams. You can do whatever you want. You can fly, you can go to the beach, you can summon, a lover, whatever. Whatever you desire, you can do in a lucid dream. However, Alexis and I both have been listening to an audiobook in preparation for the Lucid Dream Circle that we will be facilitating beginning May 7th, which I will talk about here in a second. But yeah, so we are both listening to an audiobook by Robert Wagner, and the book is titled Lucid Dreaming Gateway to the Inner Self. And as we were listening to it, I've been gaining a lot of like insights and just points that I'm fascinated with. I'm sure, Alexis, you have been, really enjoying the book, right? That's
Absolutely.
what I'm going for. Yeah. So one of the things that stood out to me, and Alexis also brought this to my attention as well, this really interesting point, is that Wagner, the author, basically had mentioned that the dreamer is not necessarily in full control of the lucid dream. And I know listening to that, I was like, wait, what? Excuse me. And so he compared this to his quote in the book is like a sailor on the sea, we lucid dreamers direct our perceptual awareness within the larger state of dreaming. So as the sailor, who's like the sailor, the captain of the ship, the helmsman, is navigating the ship along the sea and along the route, the sailor is not in control of, say, the weather pattern and the way, the path unfolds. I mean, obviously there's sort of like a guideline, an idea, an expectation, but ultimately, like you're not in full control. Right. And so that was Wagner's rebuttal to a psychotherapist that he was in connection with at a conference, who kind of like was approaching the lucid dream and this whole concept of having control over the dream and being able to do this and this and that in your dreams, to fly and do all of the things. While they didn't say that, you can't do those things, they kind of had an undertone that anyone that would believe that you're truly in control of your dream is the inflation of one's ego. And so once Robert Wagner explained to them that, no, actually, that's not how I perceive it, at least from his perspective and his experience, as he's been someone that I've realized is kind of like the forefront of the lucid dreaming, just research, study, putting the experiences out there, the writings, and the understandings of what lucid dreaming is through more of the experiential perspective. And so, yeah, that was his way of sharing, is that it is essentially, we're not in full control. We're not the ones necessarily, creating the dream. We may direct it. We may request and set intentions of what we desire to show up or how we want to experience the dream, but that doesn't always happen. And so I want to go in a little deep with this topic. And then Alexis and I will both share examples of lucid dreams that we had really recently, and we'll give an example of how you can make a request and set an intention and it not happen, and how you also can experience your lucid dreams by being lucid, but also going along with the direction or the guidance of the dream, right? And how you can have, like, the way in which you can have control in the lucid dream. So did you want to add anything about that? I'm definitely going to share some points that we discussed last night
I think
too.
that you covered such a good chunk of that. I think we can just go right into it. I think that was great.
Yeah. All right. So we have Jem and Jace is here in the chat. Welcome. Thank you guys for your support.
Thank you.
Jim's just saying hi. Jace is saying that this is true. A sailor can chart a course, but the course could have storms and whatnot. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
we don't control what shows up in the environment. Like, we can move along the path, but yeah, we don't have control over that. And he also says you can chart a new path or go a different direction. You do have control of your personal space, which I would say, like yourself. So that's a
Yeah.
good point. I was going to actually mention that was a point that I really enjoyed discussing last night in the Instagram live. And by the way, if you are wanting to watch the replay of the Instagram live, I did upload it to my YouTube already. And so that is there for you. I definitely highly recommend you check it out, because we're not going to go deep into all the points, as we're going to focus more on the actual dreams and the interpretation and the methods that we did within the dreams. But if you want to hear our perspective and diving deep more into this, what I said, that the biggest myth of lucid dreaming is, definitely definitely check out the replay, and you'll also hear us connect and engage with the viewers there who were sharing their perspective and experiences. But yeah, so this was a really fascinating perspective and reflection of, yes, I can actually control myself in the dream, so to speak. I can choose to do this thing, do that thing, even if I can't control the way in which the environment shows up. And I also can choose to awake from the dream as well. Like, if you don't want to be a part of the dream, you can choose to just like be done with it. If you can't change the scene, if you're not happy, then you can awake, and that's the end. So I really like that reflection and that point, because it reminds me, it's a reflection of our waking life, is something that I brought up too, where this is somewhat mirrored in how we experience our like reality, in a sense that we have control over our actions, right? And our actions, our decisions, in a way, the way some of us believe is that it creates our reality. So the decisions that we make will then move us in one way or the other. And we don't have full control of how that path will actually, manifest. And so I was really diving into how our lucid dream experience is actually kind of reflective of what we can do here in the waking world, aside from, say, like the physics of specific dreams, where, okay, maybe I can choose to fly and that happens. And, we necessarily can't choose to fly in that sense, like flying like a bird in waking life. But we do have like these parallels between the dream, the lucid dream space, and the waking space.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And, back to the waking life, for an example, you can control the way that you have output into the world. So, controlling the way you interact with the people in your life, that's something that is really important to control. And I feel like that's a good aspect that you can also bring into the dream realm.
Yeah. All right. So I'm thinking, is there any other points that I want to make? I mean, I think the points will come along as we go into the dreams, because the dreams are
Yeah.
that we're going to share are a bit extensive in a sense. So I want to give
Mhm.
more time to the dreams, and then we will, yeah, just point out the different ways in which you can have control over the dream, and in other ways where you can't. So I'm going to share my dream first. And Alexis, I would love to, even though I did hear, some of your interpretation, and I have something surprising that I want to share with you that I didn't share today, because I wanted to save something fresh and new for you, like dealing with dreams, and the lucid dream that I had, and the experience where I am now with that. And then, yeah, and then you can share yours. And I would love the
Perfect.
viewers, whether you're watching this now live or you are watching the replay, I would love to hear your comments and your perspectives in the chat or in the comment section if you're watching the replay. All right. So, one of the things that has fascinated me about lucid dreaming, and that's kind of pulled me into lucid dreaming, because as I was explaining to Alexis, when I decided to facilitate a dream circle, like open up that space and have a group to share with, I honestly wasn't super like into the idea of lucid dreaming. Like, I have had lucid dreams, right? And my lucid dreams up until this point have literally always been like pleasure seeking, right? Where I'm like, I want to go somewhere, I want to do this, I want to hang out with this person, whatever. And so I didn't really feel that there was like much depth there. And Robert Wagner actually presents this in his book too, of like, you can, like, some people do start their journey with the pleasure seeking, and then some people actually fall out of having a practice of lucid dreaming like intentionally, because they just get bored And it's like, okay, well, that was fun. And now I'm just going to like do the thing, right? I'm just going to dream. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so I was also connecting with a friend who is an avid dreamer. I'm not sure how her lucid dream space is, but I think that she shared a comment, and no shade to her or anything, but it definitely sat with me and kind of influenced me in a bit, where she said to me that when it came to lucid dreaming, she mentioned that maybe she's not super into it or doesn't intentionally approach it. And if she's watching this, like, comment Waven, please, and let me know if I'm saying this right. But what I remember she did say was that she wasn't like, she didn't feel the desire need to lucid dream intentionally, because like she already felt that she needed to have control in her waking life, and she wanted to enjoy the dream space where she felt like she could just surrender to the dream and not
Yeah.
necessarily like make decisions and do the things and create. And so I really resonated with that. I was like, yeah, no, that's actually a good point. And I just want to be with what shows up. Not necessarily like I got to be conscious and doing the things and being aware, because that seemed like a lot of extra work. And honestly, like I said, Alexis, it wasn't until I started talking to you and we started sharing regularly that I was like, wait a minute, I kind of want to do this. And what really drew me in was the ability to talk to people in our dreams. And a lot of people that show up in my dreams are people that I know. And not most of the time, but a lot of the times it's kind of annoying because it's like ex-boyfriends or like my ex-husband. And I'm like, okay, like, and it brings up mixed feelings and I get confused. So that was one of the things I was like, okay, I want to talk to them and just whoever in my dream space. And I shared before here on a live stream that my grandmother, when I was really excited and was like, this is my intention, my grandmother showed up in a dream and I talked to her and I shared that experience. Well, I had a dream last week, and it was one of those dreams where I like went to sleep, woke up, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, he was in my dream again. So then I went back to sleep, and then the same, like I continued the dream, and then I woke up again, and I was like, what the hell? Like, and it wasn't even like him in the dream. We weren't engaging. It was like me observing like different scenarios, or him like, if you want to read the whole dream, I actually put it on my website, so you can get the whole like the tea on everything, because it's an ex-boyfriend, and I go through. It's a really long dream, so I'm not gonna like do all of that here. I'm not gonna read it word for word, but essentially, when I woke up the second time, I was like, okay, I am going to go back in this dream. I'm going to be lucid. And as I was like laying there, I was doing the whole thing, the breathing, and it's just like, I'm going to have a lucid dream. I'm going to go back in this dream. I'm going to talk to Matt and yada, yada, yada. And so it happened. Like I remember, I don't know how it clicked, but I was like, oh shoot, I'm lucid. So as soon as I realized I was lucid, I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to him. And so I'm looking for him. And it's interesting because I would see like different people, and we were kind of in a restaurant scene, and him and I worked in a restaurant together. That's how we met. And yeah, so I was like trying to like get to him. And every time I would get close, it wasn't him. It was like, it was either the face was like kind of hazy and was distant, or it just wasn't him. And I was like, oh, you kind of look like him, but you're not him. And so literally I'm doing all of these things and like just I'm on the hunt for him and he's not there. And it got to a point where, I started to walk away from the scene, and like the dream was getting crazy. Like it was getting weird. And I didn't even care. I was so apathetic. Like people were running towards the scene of what was going on. And I was like walking out of the door of the building, and I'm walking down the street of a neighborhood. And so then I'm just kind of like deflated. I'm like, man, I really wanted to talk. And I asked, like, I remember to like look to the sky and ask, whatever it is that I wanted, because that was something that also fascinated me, because that kind of happened spontaneously, getting guidance from the sky. And then hearing Robert Wagner mentioning about just asking out to the dream world, like a question or a request. So I remembered I asked again, and I was like, can I like speak to Matt, or can I see Matt or engage with him? Nothing, like literally nothing, silence. And I'm walking, and then I just surrender to the dream, or just surrender to not being able to connect with him. And so I was like, all right, well, can you show me what's important right now? What do I need to know right now? And as I am walking, and I'm still walking outside in the neighborhood. And up until this point, like I was looking around and there were sunflowers and it was really cool. It was like Alice in Wonderland where the sunflowers were kind of like turning and watching me, like everything was watching me. And so it was like, I felt, I don't know. I don't know how to explain how I felt, but it was really interesting because before that point, I felt like an observer of everything that was going on. Um, and not necessarily being a part of the dream. I'm just kind of like, hey, move out of the way. Like I'm trying to get to this person. And so as I'm walking, and this is when I asked, show me something that like, what do I need to know right now? What's important? And so I'm walking down the street and it's really interesting because it went from a sunny day to like kind of almost like gray, like it was definitely gray, stormy type clouds, and it was not a feel good vibe. And I looked up in the sky and there were like these robotic birds in the sky and they had like a police logo or like some sort of like official government logo on it. I don't remember what it said, but I just saw it and I was like, that's interesting. And I'm walking down the street and I look to the right and there's an iron fence, and there's like a long like rectangular reflection pool, and I see on both sides of the reflection pool there's like Isis, there's a statue of Isis, stone statue, and then of a lion, and then across from that, like parallel to that, there was a lion and Isis again. And when I walked past them, they bowed to me. And at first, I thought they were hiding themselves like in fear. And I thought that was a reflection of me. And so I like walked back to see if it was happening. I was like, wait a minute, what was that? And then I walked past them again and they bowed to me again. I was like, this is really interesting. And so I kept walking and it just like the vibe of the dream was very like apocalyptic. Like there's a war going down, or like it's like the not necessarily the end times, but it's like there's chaos, there's disruption. This is not the normal way of living. Like shit's going down. So I walk into this building and I'm keeping this really short. I'm skipping over things, but I remember being in this building that I walked in and it was very official. It looked like a museum inside. It was very open, but then it was definitely like a military fort or base or something where like people were like figuring out their strategies and stuff. And I didn't mention that when I looked at Isis and the lion and they bowed the second time, I like looked down and I had a sword in my hand. So anyway, so I walk into this building and I'm not actually in fear. I'm just like, this is weird. I think it was because I was lucid. So I was like, oh, like why I was just in my head, like, what is this? Like, why this is absolutely nothing like I wanted. Like I was getting kind of annoyed. And so, anyways, I was like looking around. Nobody was really talking to me, but I felt that people were watching me because I was like essential for something. And so I remember the building was surrounded by water. Like if the building was submerged in the middle of the ocean, that's how it looked. But I had a feeling, I'm like, that's not what it is on the outside. So I went to the front door, what appeared to be the front door of this place, and I stepped outside. I wasn't in fear or anything, and there was no water. So I was like, okay. And there was like this parking lot and it was just like madness. Like I could see fire burning, like an explosion in the distance and like people just walking around, and it was really, really dark. And then I look and I had two swords in my hand. And like, at that point, I felt the dream guiding me to go out into the distance to like do something or explore. And I was just not vibing with it. And I was like, all right, I'm done. Like I'm waking up and I woke up. And this is again, if you want all the details, because it's a really interesting dream, definitely go to my website. I will put the link below. I actually have a forum on my website, and I had made a category for dreams and astral travel. And this was like months ago, and I forgot about it. I never put anything there. So I'm the first person with a dream there. So if you want to check out the dream, definitely go to the forum. I'll put the link in the description of this video, and drop in your dreams if you want to. This is a place like I want to open for everyone to drop in their dreams. You can, if you drop in your dreams, of course, we want to be respectful and compassionate, and expect people to comment and share their perspective or their interpretation or whatever. Like that's kind of the deal. And when you go to the forum, it will ask you to be a member. It's free. The only reason why I have it like a membership is because just for spam and bots, right? So yeah, you can go there and check that whole dream out. But it was really cool. But I think one, I've been talking a lot, so I need to let Alexis talk. But it was really interesting because I'll say at the end of the dream, or like in deeper reflection after I already had the dream, I actually felt closure with the situation with my ex, because a part of him showing up and a part of what was coming up for me was that when we broke up, I didn't really have any closure. Like it was kind of like a bad breakup. And so it was left unresolved. But I feel after this dream, like it was, I feel like complete with that. And that was the dream's way of kind of telling me, right, that like he wouldn't show up. And it was like, it's not really important. Like when I ask what's important, then they take me into this like battle scene almost, and like I'm about to like strategize and go to war or something like that. So it's really interesting, the shift of how when I surrendered, that the dream totally took a turn, and I still had control of myself, but I couldn't, I wasn't successful with my initial intention, but the message was very clear and strong.
Absolutely. I that dream is so incredible. And like even as you're retelling it, I'm feeling again how powerful it is because the reality of it is that dream was like closing a door. It was like
Yeah.
closing the door for you and guiding you to what is more important to focus on, which is yourself, your inner power, what you believe in. And I think that, the battle is just continuing on battling your own self, your own shadow self, and
Yeah.
understanding yourself in deeper ways. And of course, when you were talking about the swords, it made me think of the Ace of Swords card and the Two of Swords card, which is
Yeah.
interesting because you often, well, I don't know often, but you've had dreams of tarot cards before, so it's interesting
Mm-hmm.
how in some dreams it comes to you in an actual card, but in other dreams it's
Yeah.
created with you in it, and that's an interesting aspect of it. But it was really really deep and interesting and powerful, and I just feel like you've shifted, like there's a
Yeah.
shift in you where like you can finally, like, even though that door was closed, you can kind of relinquish that chain that's keeping you bound to the door. It's like being stuck in this in between and finally being able to walk through the next door that's opened and ready for you.
Yeah. And I realized that like him in the dream, it wasn't actually him. You know what I mean? Like with my grandmother, it's kind of a different energy, because with my grandmother, it always, like, especially when I connected with her, it always felt like her. It feels
Yeah,
like her. But when I tried to connect with my ex, it was almost like there's like nothing, right? Which is
yeah,
symbolic in
it was a
itself.
shell. Yeah.
So the surprise is that this morning he was actually in my dream again. And like it had no, I don't even, to be honest, I don't even remember what exactly was happening in the dream. Like I remember he was there for a sec, like it wasn't even long. And like usually I wake up from those dreams and I'm like bringing up all the things, like, and it's, I'm like, what is this, like, is this person thinking about me, or like, all the things. And this morning I woke up and I was like, it, like I thought about it, and more in the sense of like, like kind of like just letting it roll off my
Yeah,
shoulders.
it didn't like
And
have an emotional
yeah,
pull. That's so wonderful. That's such an interesting
yeah,
and
it
wonderful
was,
experience because it really is letting like your higher self and your inner self and your outer self are all releasing this. That's so cool.
yeah. And so, what I just want to share with the viewers, because I didn't really like read the dream and go deep into it. And there was a lot there. And like the first part of that dream was like so heavy, like when I was lucid, of like trying to find him, because like it's like even to find him in like real life, it would be kind of hard. Like we have mutual friends, I know who to talk to, but he's not on social media or anything like that. So for me to get in contact with him, like I it would be really hard. I even emailed him last year trying to bring closure to whatever was here, because I've been having dreams about him for a minute and no response, right? And so that part of the dream was so heavy for me. And I don't know what it is to like just not have the satisfaction. Like, I don't know what it was in the dream. Like, maybe that was like me just, it was like I tried everything at that point, and it's like, all right. And it
It was
took me
almost like
into
a
a place.
little test.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah,
like,
like
even though I hated this, well, I didn't hate the second part, but I was like not feeling it at the moment. After coming out of it and just the connection I had with the lion and with Isis. And I don't know if you all whoever watched the live stream from, that last week, I was talking about lion, embracing the lion energy, the Leo expression, also the goddess that I'm connecting with, Kadash, who is an ancient Egyptian goddess. In this particular card that I'm connecting with, she is like, she's strength. She's the Leo card in this deck. And she has a lion with her, and the signature is power. And it's like all of these things that I've been working on for myself were reflected to back to me in the dream. Even the reflection pool, like that's something I desire so deeply just within my spiritual journey in my own dream temple. So it was like really interesting after having the dream and reflecting on it, where I like fell in love with that part, and I was like, damn, I should have continued with it. But either way, I kind of got what I got, the closure that I desire, but not in the way that I thought was best, right? So that's what was fascinating for me.
well, yeah, and it shows that, you're in control of some things and not in control of the others. So you got your closure, but in a way you weren't expecting to, in
Yeah.
a way that you didn't create, which is so interesting. And I love the little test it gave you today, like whatever you want to call it, like this little like here. It's almost like how they do like the hypnosis for cigarettes and stuff, and like
Yeah.
they hypnose you out of smoking cigarettes, and then when you pick up a cigarette, it's like brother, and like
Yeah.
you're
It's
just
like,
like
yeah, I don't even,
you're
yeah.
done with it. And that's kind of what
Yeah.
it reminds me of. It was like you were pulled out of this, like you healed this wound, and now you're just kind of free from it.
Yeah. No, I was so impressed with myself. Like to this morning. I was like, and now I can't even remember the dream. And I wrote down my dream from this morning, but I mean, or I like voice messaged it. So I'm like, did
Yeah.
I even mention him in the dream? Like maybe, maybe not. But yeah, it was like it's a completely different vibe. And it's just like, yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm like, I don't have to go there anymore. So it's really interesting.
What
All right, I'm
like
gonna
a
read.
level up?
Oh,
That's amazing. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh no, I'm gonna read the comments really quickly, and then we'll go into your dream.
Absolutely.
Um, so Jace is saying this can happen because we often validate our relationship in our dreams, right? These can be current ones or old ones, and it's necessary for us because sometimes we can't do this if the person is not available to be accessible materially, right? Yeah, no, you're spot on with that. And I that's the thing I've done in like meditation. I have definitely connected with people telepathically. I actually do that all the time. Even if I'm like friends with you, I will connect sometimes, depending on what it is. So you guys are safe, you, Jason, Alexis. I'm not doing that with you guys because I talk to you all the time. But
Oh, feel
if I haven't
free.
heard from a friend or whatever, or even when I do say like I'm sending positive vibes, like I really do it like
Yeah.
in meditation. I make a point, or I like set the intention, like, okay, when I say that I'm sending positive vibes, this is what I intend, even
Yeah.
if I don't have time to like sit and meditate on it. And there are people that I do connect with in my past, and just saying what I want to say to, like I would say to them in person. I'll be in the shower, which is where I have like a lot of my like deep meditation, because I'm not disturbed by the little one. And so I can really like just get in the flow, and I envision myself in my dream temple and all of that, and like I connect and I say what I need to say. And so I don't know, there was something about the dream space though that needed to be cleared, and I think that's cleared, and so I feel good about it.
That's fantastic. What a wonderful experience. I'm so happy for you. That's just it's just such a cool. I am every day I'm surprised. Every day I'm surprised by my dreams and the abilities that we have and the uniqueness of it, because nobody's dream realm is the same, and we're all experiencing it differently and doing it differently however we want. It's
Yeah.
just I love it. I just love it.
All right, so I'm excited for you to share your dream because it is pretty wild. This is the one you shared. Yes, that was yesterday.
Yesterday.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So and it's actually funny that you mentioned that you were kind of in a wartime zone because like I in this dream, it is a perceived
Mm,
wartime. So actually not in the midst of it, but more towards the tail end because I had been hiding out for a very long time. But so the other night I had a dream I was in this old library and there was no lighting aside from candlelight. The bookshelves were overturned and pushed against all the walls, like the doors and windows, for protection's sake. I didn't explore outside yet, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. It wasn't my focus. My focus was more so inside the library, and I was in between two overturned bookshelves, and I was kind of like in like a bunch of blankets and pillows on the ground. You know, it's almost like you're taking you're literally taking shelter in this place. You built your own bed to sleep and you're just like not built, but you know what I mean. Um and I knew that we were hiding from something. I knew we were hiding from people fighting in the war, and I noticed that on the overturned bookshelf next to me was a box. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to check this out because let me find out more about where I'm at. I like that. And that's kind of how I go into my dreams. It's like I observe and pay attention. And then I'm like, all right, which direction do I want to go in? Where do I want to explore? Because I could have easily been like, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to see what is happening. But it wasn't really interesting to me at that point. So I open this box and I start reading all these letters, and they're love letters from this person, this man that I had been bunkered with for years. And what had happened was, in the letters I was reading, um, him and I got trapped in this library like 20 years prior when we were like 5 and 7. Um, and or maybe 30 years. Yeah, 30 years. It was long enough for us to have like things happen. So
yeah,
I'm going through all of these letters because it was like something that we did to kind of pass the time, was write to each other like we were far away, but we were really close together. And so I had all these letters, and you like I could see the writing change as you go through the older I got,
oh,
the
that's
better my
cool. Yeah.
handwriting and his handwriting got. And it was just, as I was reading these, I had all these memories come through of what it was like to be bunkered with this person for as long as we had been. Um, and he kind of comes around the corner, and I start kind of like talking to him, and I'm like, "Can you like these letters are real? Like where we've been in this bunker for how long?" And he's like, "Yeah, these are these are real." And I had gotten to a letter where I was talking about like a pregnancy and a baby, and I asked him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, of course, we had a baby boy, and he is an adult now, living in another quarter of our library, shelter basically."
Hmm.
And we kind of got on the topic of normal things. So he was like, "Well, do you need anything from me? Like, how you feeling? Whatever." And I'm just kind of like, "I'm good, but can I like see this kid? Like, can you bring me to him so I can meet him?" And it was this like late teenage boy who had, now I had red hair in the dream. Like, I didn't look in a mirror, but I knew that his hair was
Yeah.
mixed with my boyfriend or partner or whatever. And he had like very dark black hair, and it wasn't like a normal like mixed. It was like kind of like blocky. Um, and I just like everybody was talking to me like we were in a normal, like nothing was odd, nothing. We were just living our life, and I kind of played into it and followed this guy back into another room. Now, the entire place was lit with candles, and I knew that there were some like venomous creatures and like spiders and stuff that were around. And we were in the one room, and the guy ended up spraying these spiders because they were like a danger to us. but because of the type of spray it was and the candles, it burst into flames. So I
Mm-hmm.
was burning alive with my family, and I felt the burns at first, but then I like kind of snapped myself outside of the house and decided to just watch from afar. Because at that point,
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing I felt. It almost felt like a fixed moment, if that makes sense, where like
Mm-hmm.
these things are happening and I need to stay and kind of take it all in.
Yeah.
Um, and it was devastating, but I was numb at the same time. And I remember my essence kind of floating outside of this house, and like I could feel the cold night air on me. And as like upsetting as the experience was, I was also extremely calm. And that's something
Mm-hmm.
that is like a tool that I've learned over the years, is like that could have been a nightmare for a lot of people, but for me
Yeah. When you
it was
you're telling
just
me, I'm like, okay, we're happy about this dream, right? This isn't a nightmare.
it wasn't a nightmare, and
I had to like
it's so funny to me. But the thing is, I had um went into another dream. So I kind of woke up into another dream. And this other dream, I was in a school, and I was like, I need to go. I got a text because I was in the classroom, and I got a text from someone I had been working with because we were investigating something, this like looming dark energy. And I got a text from him to meet him at this house. So I went out, I left the school and I went into my car, and I remember it was my first car I ever had in real life, which was a yellow Volkswagen Beetle. And I had gotten into it, but I noticed that there was ice and snow all over. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go ask these dream people if they can help me push my car out of this so I can go. Um, so I got out and I was like, hey, look, it snowed. Can you just give me a little boost? And they're like, yeah, no problem. I was like, thanks. So I drove to that house after they pushed me out, and I got there, and it was like a set of stairs directly like up, like as soon as you walked in the door. And then to one side, there was a dining room. And I remember that it was a rectangular dining table that was like a light wood that was at an angle, and it had homework and stuff on it. And there was a father kind of like holding, like bent down and holding the shoulders of his young daughter, talking to her about how everything was going to be okay. And then I look to the left of me and I see that it's a living room, and the son is sitting on the couch watching TV. It's like cartoons.
mm-hmm.
And I'm talking to some of the people who are there with me, because there's a couple people with me for this investigation. And when we look up the stairs to the next level, it's just one open room again. And there is this darkness that's just looming. And we're kind of talking about whether or not this is something we should really investigate right this second, or if we need to like have more people come. But before we made the decision, one of the other partners that we had kind of started walking up the stairs closer to it, and then it just started to like fall at us. So I ran into the truck with these people and we started driving away, but the energy kind of like followed us and stopped the vehicle, and I was dragged out, and then I was stabbed to death. And then I woke up into the next dream from that. Now, mind you, I did the same thing in this dream that I did the last dream, where like at first I could feel the stabs, and then I kind of like allowed my senses to dissipate because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that it was unnecessary for me to feel pain in my dream like that.
Yeah.
I don't need to be
Yeah.
like stabbed and feel it. So the next dream I was in a older house, um because somebody had their family heirlooms basically in this home, and the owners were refusing to give them back. And the uh the person, I was with two older women, and they the one was waiting in the truck for us because it was kind of like a heist. And the other woman I
Mhm.
went with into the house, and it was like this old farmhouse, like kind of more narrow, like old wood, all the old frames, like the doors and everything were all like from that time. And there was this angry man kind of like screaming at us, particularly this woman who was trying to take her like this important stuff. And she ended up grabbing one of the blankets. Like she couldn't grab everything. She just grabbed the blanket, and then we ran outside, and I got to the truck, and she ended up getting into the truck as the guy was like chasing her down. And we started driving. The driver of the truck ended up driving us into the cornfield. And that's when he kind of like got in front of us and blocked us off, and then pulled me out of the truck and stabbed me to death. And then I woke up in another
Oh my
dream,
gosh.
and this last dream was really really quick. Like it was I was in another place, I was in another vehicle, and I got stabbed to death, and then I woke up for like real.
So just so you know, viewers, this all of these dreams were in like one
Yeah.
morning, like
Hmm.
just different dreams. Like, did you, okay, I wasn't clear about this. Did you wake up in between the dreams, or this was just like it was still one sequence of
It
like
was just
you
one
sleeping?
sequence.
Right. So you were waking
Yeah.
yourself up to another scene.
Yep. Hmm. And it's interesting because then I pulled the
Yes.
tarot that day, and the cards I got were the Tower and Death. And the Tower card is on fire,
Yeah.
and the Death card is obviously the
Death.
Death card. So it was just very interesting. And like the way that I used my lucidity, because I've mentioned this before, I have done a lot of pleasure seeking lucid dreaming when I was younger and I was trying to escape. And in my like late teens, early 20s, I started kind of changing the way I go about my lucidity and accepting the messages that are coming in while having control of the things that I want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So I don't control a lot of it. Like somebody would have maybe decided that that wasn't something they wanted to experience, so they would recreate into a better
Yeah, like
environment.
you wouldn't go that far into it or yeah.
Because it's
Like I don't know,
scary. These
maybe
types of things are
yeah.
scary. But
Yeah.
I wasn't in fear. And I think that's something that's
Hmm.
really important to acknowledge, is that once you realize that, like, you are, it is you're there consciously, you're not in control, but it's your brain, it's your experience, it's not, I don't know how to even explain this, but like, you just kind of relinquish all of your emotions towards it. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't
Yeah.
have them, but I've learned to keep a
Yeah.
balanced, calm, neutral energy with myself so that I have the
Hmm.
capability to take in everything. I mean, observe and, make my decisions the way that I want to. Like
Right.
I said in the
Yeah.
beginning, I could have walked outside and investigated what was going on, but I chose instead to focus on something that felt more personal.
Yeah.
um and learning more about that, and that first dream was just so
Yeah, that
weird.
seemed like some sort of past life, parallel life situation. And it's interesting now hearing this again, I kind of have a different perspective on it. Because initially, when Alexis was telling this, first of all, it was chopped up into like 1 minute segments because of Instagram voice messages. And yeah, I just remember it's like you really emphasize that there were all deaths in
Hmm.
this, right? And I mentioned like because I was just recently talking about Dolores Cannon, and it reminded me of just the nature of her work in general, where she would put her clients in the deepest level of trance so that they could get an idea of what is ailing them. Because by the time they got to her, like they had been doing, they were like sick, they had something going on, whether it was physical, mental, or whatever. And they tried everything. So they went to her, and it kind of spontaneously happened in her practice that one of her patients went through, as she put them, I didn't mention that she's a past life regressionist, right? So she would, yeah, I said that she would put them through the deepest level of trance. Well, she did that. And this patient spontaneously experienced like the death of that lifetime, which was not the plan. And from that experience, that patient and Dolores Cannon were able to learn like basically the root of what was like incurable. Is that the right word? Yeah, incurable for her at the time, for the patient. And so that was kind of like the aha moment. So then that was her thing, to like take her clients through the death of whatever past life they end up going back to. She takes them through the death experience in that past life, because in that death experience, how people die is where a lot of that trauma is also created and brought forth into the next lifetime, where then you're working through that and healing through that, right? And so I don't know. That's the perspective I had. And I was like, this is interesting, especially the getting stabbed to death. Like there's something also there. And like, it's interesting that you and I both had like some sort of like blade or sword in the dreams as well. So I'm
And
also, and then the
battle or
tarot coming
war.
together. What was that?
And the like the battle, like that
The
being
battle,
war
right?
type of
Yeah.
energy. Yeah. And the connection to the tarot cards. Like
Yeah.
it's
And the
so
connection
interesting.
to
And
the
the more I
tarot.
was thinking about yours, I was thinking about how Isis and the two lions kind of remind me of the chariot card in the
Synchronicity just happened there.
yeah, it's
I've literally gotten the chariot, I think last week. I got the chariot like 3 or 4 times. Definitely 3 times. It may have been a fourth recently, but that's been a repetitive card showing up for me. So
yeah, yeah. Death
there's
has
something
definitely
there.
been a repetitive card for me.
And it makes sense too, because with the death energy, it is like endings, right? Of course, there's endings and beginnings, there's transformation, and you are in a very, very transformative period of your life. And the tower is the way I read the tower card is like the breaking of old patterns. And when I see the tower, it's like it already happened. Like the tower moment has happened, whether you
Yeah,
feel it or not, but that structure has crumbled, right? And so to
yeah.
have those two together after those dreams is a very powerful statement. And there is no reason to fear. I mean, except like the fear of the unknown. But in the case of your dreams, like it's usually all symbolic. At
Hmm.
least that's where I like to start. Just from my understanding and my learnings and experiences, that's where I go to.
Yeah.
And so that's the second, or that's like the in this moment interpretation of your dreams, like hearing it
Hmm.
again, that death card and tower moment. I feel that with like what you're experiencing as far as like the deep, intense like transformation.
Yeah, I can take out a lot of different ideas and concepts behind the dreams that I had because there's so many different perspectives, rebirth is definitely a huge perspective, like death and rebirth, the tumbling down of old systems and building of new, the transformation. The fire reminded me of like rising from the ashes, being like a phoenix type energy. It also could have been, past life regression where it just put me through like 4 past deaths that I had experienced and just for information purposes, and or it could be just, oh, I had a good one. I just lost it. That's fine. But there's so many perspectives I can get out of that
Yeah.
dream, and it really is interesting. Like the more that you become like lucid in your dreams, the more you pay attention to like your surroundings in your dreams, and the more you
Mm-hmm.
take in like I take in my dreams like I'm taking in my everyday, and I've become more
Mm-hmm.
present in my day to day because of being more present in my lucid dreams.
Absolutely. That's like, and that was one of the things that I was so impressed with myself. You guys, this was like the first full on lucid dream that I've had in which it was not pleasure seeking. And I'm so happy. And what I'm so impressed with is the fact that I could recall my conscious intentions, my conscious mind, I could recall that in the dream, in the lucid dream, where it's like, yes, I'm lucid. Okay, here's this thing I want to do. Here's like, as far as I want to talk to this person. And now that they're here, and that happened with the dream with my grandmother, I guess like I was pretty fully lucid in that one, but I didn't feel super grounded. And it's like I'm seeing the more you do it, the more obviously the more you master it, right? And you're grounded and aware.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I was really just impressed with the fact that how I was able to surrender and open myself up to what the dream guide, or again, this like who is choosing like the direction of the dream, who is creating the dream, right? Because we can choose, like we can set intentions, we can make requests, but even if the request is satisfied, like we don't really depict on how it shows up, which is very similar to our waking experience. And so I'm just really impressed with how it's all starting to bleed into one another. And
Yeah.
what's really interesting too is that, just, for those of you watching, like just paying attention to, or contemplating how her and I both were in control of ourselves and somewhat of the direction of the dream. And we were also going along with the natural flow of it, right? Like we made that choice too, because like for me, I chose to wake up in the end because I was like, no, I don't really feel like fighting a war right now. And Alexis chose to just like wake up in another dream, right? She's like, okay, let's move on, right? Let's see what else is here. And so there are so many different ways that you can control the dream. And it's not necessarily like, yeah, like I just, the super ego, like I do all the things, I can fly, I can do this. It's like, no, it won't always happen that way. And sometimes I feel maybe if you're not, like if you don't really consciously or logically understand that, you might just like wake up in the dream, or like the lucid dream might just collapse and you wake up anyways and it's not satisfied. And then I can see some people being like, oh well, lucid dreaming, like it's not a thing, or it's not, like it could alter someone's perspective about the nature and the power of lucid dreaming.
Yeah. I have to say, like, if you haven't experienced it, it doesn't mean it's not real, and it might be beneficial for you to try it out.
Yeah.
Like, the magic of it is so rewarding, and my dreams may have sounded scary to someone who,
To me.
anyone, I guess anyone, but there are so
Yeah.
many things that I controlled in my dream to make myself comfortable despite following along with all of the, I guess, monstrosities that I experienced. And that's
Yeah.
something that's really, really valuable. I mean, even like the being like allowing myself to leave my body and feel like a free spirit, like I am outside of the threshold of pain and into comfort and freedom. It's just there's so much you
Yeah.
can, it's so incredible.
And I feel that like what you just said, as far as like leaving the body, or just even kind of turning off like the senses in that way and stepping out of it, like you're kind of like maneuvering or shape shifting like your energy and where you are. And to me, just knowing you, I feel that that also is a bit of like a reflection of your perspective, in the sense, or your just awareness of existence, right? Because sometimes you're like, I just feel like a human, like just existing, like
Yeah,
not necessarily identifying with like female or this or that, or like
yeah.
this role of being a daughter, being a wife. Like sometimes
Mhm.
I'm just a fucking human existing. And I feel that, like, one, that resonated with me so profoundly. And then I just see that reflected in your dreams, where you're just like, okay, like I'm here existing in this, but I'm going to exist over here and kind of see how
Yeah,
that works out. Right. And so it's interesting that you're playing with like alternate realities in a sense in that one space.
yeah, it
So
really
that's
does
pretty
feel like an
fascinating.
alternate reality. It really does. Like, I know we talked about astral traveling before, and I have, come to realize that that is something that I have been doing quite a lot. And sometimes, like, it bleeds into my lucid dreams. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
think we talked about
Yeah.
that, how like it kind of bleeds together, but it really felt like I was in a different reality or a different timeline or something along the lines of that. It's just existing as myself in the dream. And it's so funny, like every time I hear, when I've been doing it for so long that like I'm not like shocked when I'm lucid anymore, which sounds so lame because like a lot of people when you know, they're first becoming lucid or they're realizing they're more lucid, they're like, "Oh my god, I'm lucid in my dream." And like that's one of the aspects of you be like falling out of it or collapsing it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anymore it's just like I'm waking up, like
Yeah.
I'm just
You're like, here I
there. My
am. I
consciousness is
fell asleep
there.
and like you say, I closed my eyes in this reality and open them
Open
up
them
in
in
the next.
another.
Like,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
exactly it.
And
That's
if you
exactly
all
it.
knew, if you could see Alexis's birth chart, it makes so much sense if you understand astrology. And so this is exactly the beauty of being in a circle of dreamers. And we actually have a few nice comments that I'm gonna share here in a second. But I just want to drop the info on our circle. So Alexis and I are facilitating a lucid dreaming circle that begins May 7th. It's 5 weeks. We're going to meet every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Zoom, and we'll discuss a lucid dreaming topic. We're going to share our dreams that we're having at the moment or anything coming up in the space in the realm of dreams. You can ask us any questions. And this is just a really beautiful, sacred, intimate space in which we can support each other on this journey, because as Lexis is basically a master lucid dreamer, I am a bit new at this. Like we're sharing and learning and growing together, and it's just like our dreams inspire each other. And just to
Absolutely.
even witness Alexis have these crazy dreams where she's getting stabbed to death and she's laughing, and I'm like, okay, so this is not a nightmare, right? Like just want to check how we're approaching this. It's like it inspires me to just be more confident in my dreams. So I just wanted to point out this live example of how, even if you're not sitting in circle with someone, if you have just even one person that you can share your dreams with, it makes a world of a difference, especially
So
when
much
you
difference.
are trying this out, even if it's lucid dreaming or just working on, dream recall and interpretation. So it's all beautiful and amazing just to have that journey with someone. So I just wanted to share that. And if you want any more info on that, you can visit uraniauniverse.com/lucid dream circle. The link is in the description of the video. There's more info. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to comment on this video or send me a message through my website. Think that's everything. Yeah, and registration is open. It's only going to be a small amount of people, so do not hesitate if you're curious and interested. All right, so we have some comments here. Jay says that as far as like the first part of your dream being in a library, he said that's interesting. I've had a dream where I was in school and everyone had a room which was a bookcases pushed together to make a makeshift room for each person. We would use the books to study. And then he mentions that you can have up to 9 dreams in a night. And because of time dilation, the dream can feel like it can be hours, days, weeks, months, years long. And then he mentions keeping emotions in check allow you to maintain lucidity as well. Yes, 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 yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
And it
And that's
reminds me
actually,
to talk about the collective unconscious. Like we're all
mm,
kind of, maybe we're all stepping into this like mid post war realm at some period in time, wherever that
mm-hmm,
may be, because time is so interesting, and you don't really know what
relative.
dreaming is. And with how, yeah, it's so interesting to kind of have those related experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel, and speaking of time and emotions and all of those things, our next live stream we're going to share our points and experiences on how to essentially make your lucid dreams last longer, right? Because the dreams that Alexis and I both had that we both shared were pretty long dreams to be lucid, especially for me as pretty much a beginner at this, as far as like with intentional deep intentions. That's funny. Um, but yeah, that was a really long dream. And for me, it could have kept going. And I just woke
Yeah.
myself up because I was like, no, I was tired in the dream. I was like, I don't have the energy for this. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Which is
And
a
so,
valid choice to make, you know? Like you can go back to it when you want. You can
yeah,
reform that
yeah,
dream and face it when you're ready. And that's the beauty of having the
yeah.
control to make those decisions.
Yeah. And emotions are everything. Like controlling your emotions, keeping your emotions in check is like pretty much the main way to have those lucid dreams last longer. So we're definitely going to touch on that for sure in the next live stream. So watch out for that. And we have a new person here commenting. Welcome, Skywalker Fifth World. I love that name. That's awesome. So happy that you are sharing your insights and yeah, your comments. So they say that this is such a revealing conversation, ladies. Quite the multidimensional saga playing out through these dreams here. So symbolic and so relevant to the current cosmic drama. And then they also said that's a beautiful point right there too, as above, so below the grand yoga. And I'm assuming that is pointing out when we were talking about the unconscious or the dream, bleeding into the waking realm and just how that's intertwined, right? Which is like one of the major benefits. It's like literally experiencing the full consciousness, right? Of
God,
both
I love
sides,
it so much. I love it.
unconscious, conscious, subconscious, all the things, full
It just like
consciousness.
it reminds me of a dream I had, the one I was talking to you that you were in, where like I was standing in the street and I could feel the storm brewing and I just looked around at the sky and like felt the intensity and saw the lights and the colors in the sky were so pink and just like smelling the aroma and just existing in that space. Like it is, if you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend it. And if you need to know how to do it, come and join the Dream Circle because we will help you through it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was just so incredible. I'm thinking about how like walking through the street, like from the one scene, because so I didn't explain, but basically in the first part of the scene, when I was trying to find my ex, we were at some sort of community park, like a community rec center or something of that nature. And I walked through the building and I walked into like just a residential neighborhood. And what I'm visualizing is actually one of my favorite neighborhoods in my town, where it's just like these older houses, but it's like kind of like a cottagey type neighborhood. And it's like everyone has their sunflowers and their plants and their viney thing. Like it's like old, but kind of new, but old, right? The streets are like really narrow and like there's like cobblestone. It's so, oh my gosh. And that's what I was experiencing in the dream. And so, and just seeing the flowers and nature responding to me, that was really cool. And just it was interesting to see the wave of transition of the scenes where it was just like, oh, everything's so like sweet and la 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 and like Alice in Wonderland type vibes. And then it starts to get dark and hazy and it's like there's shit flying in the sky, like there's fire going on in the distance, an explosion, like there's dark like gargoyle type energy happening over here. And it was just like, what is happening? I'm like, this is what I need to see right now. Like, wait, what? But it
Yeah.
was so profound in reflection mode and interpretation. So it was everything. So
I'm so
yeah.
happy you had that experience.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Please like the video if you like this so we know that you like this. And please subscribe to my channel so you can definitely see when we go live and when I upload just random videos about dreams on what we share. And yeah, there was another thing that I wanted to. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's pretty much. Do you have any last words or anything
No, I think the only
that you
thing
want to
I want to say is I hope that everybody has lots of fun dreams tonight.
Yeah, everyone sleep well.